I'm Hans Westlund, professor and head of Department of Urban Planning and Environment here at KTH, and also interim president of the Regional Science Academy, which currently is being formed. This seminar in honor of Professor Glaser, I will start with a few words here, and then Professor Glaser will give his presentation, followed by little shorter presentations by Professors Fran Tonkis and Peter Nijkamp. And after that, we open up for questions and comments from you, the audience. And then our three speakers will have a roundtable discussion. And finally, Professor Pontus Braunerhjelm here at KTH will close the seminar by pointing at ways forward. Before I give the floor to Professor Glaser, there are a few things I would like to say. First, this is a seminar about cities, the main research topic of Professor Glaser. Still, we have given the seminar the seemingly odd title, Towards a Post-Urban World. And that might need some explanation. We know that nowadays over half the world's population is living in cities, and that urbanization in the developing world is going much faster than it did in our part of the world. So why on earth talking about a post-urban world? Well, historically, we can say that towns and cities emerged as small islands in seas of countryside, and the vast majority of these towns and cities remained small in the pre-industrial area. And the urban-rural relationships were characterized by strong urban dependency on the countryside. Then the industrial and the agricultural revolution changed this relationship dramatically. Increased agricultural productivity meant that the countryside could feed a much larger urban population, and the industrial production in the growing cities became the other side of this new relationship, with an urban-rural exchange at multiple levels compared with the pre-industrial era. Now, the emergence of the knowledge economy has brought new fundamental changes in the urban-rural relations. Cities are increasingly becoming more dependent on each other than of the rural areas. Agriculture, that since prehistoric times was the economic base of rural areas and the guarantee for rural settlements, has in many countries reached such a productivity level so that the need for labor is so small that farmers have become even a small minority of the rural population. Although it's hard to judge whether phenomena like urban agriculture, that is being popular right now, and say agricultural fly-in, fly-out labor, if they will become dominant features, there are clear signs that the urban-rural relations of the knowledge economy increasingly seem to be characterized by urban interdependence and rural dependency on urban labor and other urban resources. This is something completely new in the world history, and it prompts fundamental questions on long-range spatial dynamics. The great German 19th century philosopher Hegel developed a dialectical perspective in which a thesis was met by an antithesis, and the two eventually were transformed into something new and higher, a synthesis. In the framework of Hegel's philosophy, the rural can be considered the original thesis, the urban emerged as the antithesis, and over the centuries, the rural thesis and the urban antithesis have been the two poles of spatial interaction. But with the emergence of the knowledge economy, it may be argued that a synthesis has arisen, a world in which the urban is sort of everything, and the traditional urban-rural dichotomy is ceasing to exist. This might be called a post-urban world, a world in which cities have become so dominant that our planet is soon almost completely urbanized. And when the urban has lost its rural counterpart, there are reasons to discuss the existence of a post-urban world. Okay, that's the reason for the title of the seminar. Now over to today's main character, Professor Edward Glaeser. He is the Fred and Eleanor Glimp Professor of Economics at Harvard University, where he also serves as director of the Tobman Center for State and Local Government and the Rappaport Institute for Greater Boston. He also edits the Quarterly Journal of Economics, and Professor Glaeser is a research program director for the International Growth Center Cities Research Program at LSE and the University of Oxford. He has studied the economics of cities, and he has written a large number of papers on urban issues, including the growth of cities, segregation, crime, and housing market. And he is particularly interested in the role that geographic proximity can play in creating knowledge and innovation. He received his BA in economics from Princeton University and his PhD from the University of Chicago. And 4 years ago, Edward Glaeser published the book, The Triumph of the City, How Our Greatest Invention Makes Us Richer, Smarter, Greener, Healthier, and Happier. That book was shortlisted for the Financial Times and the Goldman Sachs Business Book Award, of the Year Award. As Glaeser shows in his myth-scattering book, cities are actually the healthiest, greenest, and richest places to live in cultural and economic terms. New Yorkers, for example, live longer than other Americans. More than half of America's income is earned in 22 metropolitan areas. And city dwellers use, on average, 40% less energy than suburbanities. Glaeser travels through history and around the globe to reveal the hidden working of cities and how they bring out the best in humankind. And he reminds us forcefully why we should nurture our cities or suffer consequences that will hurt us all, no matter where we live. So, enough of my talking. It's a great privilege and honor to congratulate Professor Edward Glaeser to the honorary degree at KTH. Welcome, the floor is yours.